daddy of minivans is back, but it's not the Dodge Grand Caravan, and it's not the Chrysler Town & Country either. It is the all-new 2017 Chrysler Pacifica, and even though it's not a new name, it's stuck on a people carrier this time. There's a pretty long list with segment firsts coming with this new reinvention of the minivan. However, we are going to focus on what really matters. Prices for the Canadian market start at $43,995, and the base trim level is the Touring L, just like the one I'm in right now. The top of the range Limited starts at $52,995, while the Touring L Plus is $3,000 more than the Touring L. The new Pacifica is front-wheel drive, and it is powered by the awesome 3.6-liter Pentastar VVT V6 engine that outputs 287 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque. Under heavy acceleration, it sounds pretty grunty. It kind of helps you forget that you're driving a school bus. Finally, for the minivan segment, we have a modern 9-speed TorqueFlite transmission. That means that most of the time there's plenty of pulling power, but most importantly, on the highway, over our local Ontario speed limits, it purrs at about 1700 RPM, making long distance traveling really quiet. The really big news comes from the fuel efficiency front, especially now with the new gearbox and with the extensive use of aluminum that's reduced the weight. This thing is much more efficient than before. We've been averaging 10.5 liters per 100 kilometers. That is pretty sweet. 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, as tested, comes in 9 seconds flat, and the reverse procedure requires 44 meters. The brake pedal feels very positive and requires very light pressure till it's very effective. The good news is that this Pacifica is actually really nice to drive. The steering wheel is big and thick, and it's nice to hold on to. The seats are very plush, but at the same time very supportive, and the driving position reminds me nothing of a minivan. It's more like you're driving a big SUV. The ride is exceptionally comfortable, and the handling is pretty good too. I mean, it does lean if you throw it into a corner at speed, but that doesn't really affect its turning ability. I mean, by the time this thing gives up grip, anything you have inside the car, including your kids, are going to be sliding off their seats. So I can't really complain. I'm really happy to say that off-the-line initial traction has been massively improved. That means that in the wet or in the winter in the snow, you're going to get a lot more grip and a lot less nose sliding. What really matters though in a minivan is what happens behind the front seats. This one has been configured in a 2-3-3 format, meaning it's an 8-seater. You can also play it 2-3-3 if that strategy suits your game plan better. You can stow all seats into the floor and get massive loading abilities. You can also move your seats forward without having to remove your baby seat, which is great, but keep in mind it has to be a forward-facing one. There are power sliding doors, power tailgate, infinite storage compartments and cup holders, and most importantly, you do get a remote starter for the winter. The interior is really nicely designed. I'm a very big fan of all the lines they've used and the blue accent colors behind the instrument cluster. The materials used on the dashboard are all hard plastic, but they actually feel pretty nice. Soft to the touch materials have been used for the door panels, which is pretty nice. Fit and finish seems to be really good, and over bumps and potholes, there are no unwanted soundtracks. The 8.4-inch screen for the Uconnect infotainment system has pretty good resolution. It looks very sharp and very nice, and it's really quick to respond. I'm really loving this system. This might be much more expensive than what the Grand Caravan used to cost, but if you look at it really carefully, you do understand why. It's improved in so many areas and finally comes with a modern transmission. And even the entry-level model comes pretty feature-rich. If you and the family feel that it's time for a new minivan, look no further than the new champion.